This is book 13 of the Logan McRae series by Stuart MacBride, This House of Burning Bones. In Aberdeen, Scotland, DI Logan McRae is working with a skeleton crew as officers across the board are decimated by the flu, while he's investigating the bombing of a motel that was full of immigrants and holding down the fort at the station too. But things are about to get really crazy when a body is found and a woman goes missing. It's the 20th anniversary of this series about Logan McRae, and this is the 13th book, as I mentioned. It's a series where you can read any one as a standalone or read them in order if you like. The stories are often dark and can be a bit gruesome in places, and they follow the UK police procedural sort of oeuvre. Though the twist here is in this series is that rather than having a larger-than-life detective, like old detective stories like Poirot or even the Vera Stanhope kind of style. Here we have a very normal, human, down-to-earth Logan McRae dealing with a bunch of kooky colleagues instead. This one is a chunky 600 pages, and this is the first book in the series that I have read. I'm not sure why that is. I think they've sort of been on my radar, but I just haven't picked one up until now for some reason. I was really impressed with the opening pages of this book, or opening few chapters. We start with a young man breaking into the home of a wealthy woman he's been stalking and is planning on raping. He's feeling like a big predator, and the tension is pretty high as he walks through her home, rifling through her belongings, and then we hear her come home. But things take a turn. Firstly, there's a knock on the door, and a police officer is there, and then the police officer attacks the woman and leaves with her in the trunk of his car. So it's a real sort of intense opener, sets up the story, lets us know that things are not going to be what they seem here. And it's just a real bait and switch. A very tense opening scene. I thought that was really, it really got me into the book quite a lot. I sometimes get frustrated with recent titles that are 600 pages long because a lot of the time they're that long because they just need editing. It can feel very self-indulgent on the writer's part to not murder your darlings, as the saying goes. That is to, just because it's your favorite thing that you wrote, your favorite paragraph, or it's good writing, doesn't mean it serves the story. And sometimes those little things need to be cut. So that's what that means. So this book deserves an honorable mention for me because I think it uses the 600 pages well. There's always something going on in this story. There's plenty of plot and moving pieces, and there's more than one case going on. So there are different developments happening all the time. There's also very active, action-y scenes with chasing down suspects, or sometimes to quite funny effect, some of these scenes. Other times it's quite serious. And then there are scenes where the characters are doing maybe more everyday police things, and we get to know them through how they interact. And so in these moments, the author makes the effort to make these scenes funny or to have a lot of sort of banter in them between the characters. So even in the more slower, maybe mundane moments, the author is at pains to deepen the characters and to entertain us in those scenes too. So I appreciated that. To me, this book did not feel long. I get the impression that MacBride really enjoys writing this series, which adds to the enjoyment of reading it. In scenes where the journalist character is our main focus, the writing style changes to have little journalistic touches, like characters age in brackets after their name, like in a news story, or continued on page whatever, sort of at the end of those chapters. This made me smile. He tries to use more interesting words for things as well, like Dopplering, or trying to create a little edge and mood in his description. I think it's give these books a very unique voice, which is nice. You definitely know you're reading a Stuart MacBride book, and I like that. The little uses of local Scottish slang and syntax really give it that sense of place as well. Sometimes the language is a little brash and sort of scatological, but it feels more realistic to me with its rough and ready characters in Logan's team, with their different walks of life and outlooks and the type of work that they do. I think overall this works as a story. Sometimes I felt Logan McRae is the long-suffering parent to a group of very childish adults. There were moments for me when I felt that the side characters were maybe a little bit too cartoonish. The banter had a couple of scenes where it just felt a little forced. There was one scene where a character was mentioning fictional detectives, and it felt like someone had just sort of done a Google search rather than was naturally listing them. Another starts speaking in a kind of version of Shakespearean language for no real reason. But that said, it didn't really annoy me. Sometimes we do feel like the only adult in the room in various situations. So it's relatable, but it was just getting a little bit close to that line for me of it being a little bit unrealistic or jarring, maybe. There were a couple of things I didn't think landed well. There's a girl YouTube streamer in this book, and she's written as being really shallow and callous, and she has an OnlyFans. This idea that sort of YouTubers, streamers, and especially female streamers being depicted as desperate for attention and narcissistic is really overdone. It's such an easy trope, but it feels a little bit boomerish to me. Most streamers are really nice. They're very hard workers. They're often business people. Doing that line of work is a small business. Even if they have an OnlyFans, that's not like the end of the world. That doesn't mean somebody's a bad person or whatever. Sure, on the internet, there are some bad apples that you kind of read about maybe in headlines, but it felt like lazy writing, kind of cashing in on ignorance about what that industry really is and that kind of content creation. The second thing was an Australian character that was really cringe. In her chapters, we got things being compared to the Opera House or talking about kangaroos and kookaburras. A popular Australian idiom is used in there, but it's used incorrectly. And at one point she refers to the nearest body of water as a billabong, which is like, that's not what that is. And, as an Australian, I can tell you if I see a creek, I call it a creek. I only call it a billabong if it is a billabong. Like, it's kind of, it can be rough being Australian, I think, because people sort of think it's okay to misrepresent your country in a way that I think, or just stereotype it. And it's very cringe. I don't know. I'm sure other places feel like that too. I remember years ago having a chat with a friend of mine that I was studying alongside of, and they were from Zimbabwe. And we were joking because I said, I ride my kangaroo to school every day. And they were saying, yeah, I ride my lion to school every day. Like, it's just kind of this real misunderstanding of a culture. And I think you can write a character that's from another place without just sort of, the kind of put another shrimp on the barbie of it all, Anyway, it didn't spoil the book for me. I think you could also argue, if we're being a little bit harsh, that the ending of this book felt a little soft. The good guys are not great at catching the bad guys in this book. On this case anyway, but I think that there's more, it's more that this book is slightly more in the thriller area than the detective mystery area. There is like a kind of mystery and it gets solved, but the book is also about, the characters' lives, police lives, about how crazy and sometimes funny, sometimes tragic that line of work can be, spending time with our characters. So I think that works. I was definitely sort of invested and along for the ride the whole way. So that's how I feel about that. One of the endorsements on the back of this book is from Lee Child. He's the author of the Reacher novels. And though those books are a different style and subject, I feel like that endorsement really makes sense. This is a chunky, entertaining read. It has a mystery in different cases. It has some dark moments. But it's about taking you on a ride at the same time. It wants to entertain you, and I think that it does. I'll probably seek out more from this author, maybe some previous volumes in this series, because I know I quite liked it. But yeah, this is for you if you want a Scottish police procedural with sort of darkness and a lot of tension, but also humor. It's a very entertaining read. And So thank you, PGC Books, for the ARC of this book for review. And guys, if you've read other ones in this series, you're welcome to recommend one to me. Or if you love or hate this series, let me know. Sometimes when I am reading the first book in a series like this, where it's, this is the 20th anniversary of this series. It's quite a ways in. It can be interesting to read that as a standalone and kind of see what people think as somebody who loves the series or hates the series. So I will chat to you guys in the comments. And thank you, as always, for joining me and hanging out with me. It's always nice to share books with you guys. If you'd like more, you can subscribe or chat to me in the comments. And Yeah, thank you for watching.